Hello, my name is Mara, and welcome to Books Like Whoa. So, here in America, tomorrow is Thanksgiving, and I really love Thanksgiving. It's nice because I think it's maybe our least commercial holiday. Like, aside from, I guess, like, the food pieces of it, maybe, like, at an Easter, we don't have to just, like, buy all the things. Even, like, Halloween has gotten to be its own thing. Anyway, I really like Thanksgiving. It's essentially our fall feast. I personally do not celebrate any of the colonialist aspects of it. I choose to think of it purely as a fall feast and a time to reflect on what we are thankful for. As the fall feast and as a time to reflect on things that we are thankful for, I do really enjoy it. It's probably one of my favorite holidays with my family just because it's very low-key. And as I was thinking about Thanksgiving, I thought that maybe I could do a video about books that I'm thankful for. And I kind of took this in a lot of different ways. You will see there's some parallel to my books I would give my younger self somewhat, but not totally. So anyway, I just thought this might be kind of a fun seasonal video, and yeah, let's just dive into it. I thought I would start with the book that I'm thankful for because it's really the book that got me into reading, and that is Heidi. This is the first, like, actual chapter book that I remember reading, and I loved it. I mean, this was like just a book I reread a bunch of times. I wish I could find my original copy. It had like this little, it was like I think it was some kind of like children's classics type thing, and it had like a pink spine on it, and I broke it. Anyway, I loved this book, and this really defined me as a reader because I didn't realize this was a children's classic. I thought it was just a classic, and I thought that meant that I really liked classics, and so that's why I read so many when I was a kid. Like before, like by the age of 10, I think I'd read, or at least attempted to read. I don't really feel like I remember a lot of these, but like most of Dickens, most of like Alexander Dumas or whatever, and a lot of times they were abridged or whatever, but like I think that was really formative for me becoming like confident as a reader. So anyway, I loved this book, and I'm thankful that I encountered it when I did because it really set me on a positive reading trajectory. So let's stick with some books that sent me on a good reading trajectory. That's maybe a good place to start. So another book I'm thankful for is Halloween Party by Agatha Christie, because I believe this was my first Agatha Christie I ever read. I bought it and The Hollow at the same time. I just finished studying abroad at Cambridge, and I was in Heathrow, and I was so sad to be leaving because I'd had an amazing time, and like I just loved it, and I love Cambridge. I would live there if I could. And I was like, I want something really British to read for the flight. And I saw Halloween Party and The Hollow. And those were like the two that were, I think, left, or like the back of them sounded interesting to me. And I'm pretty sure I read Halloween Party first, and like it sent me on my epic love affair with Agatha Christie, and for that I'm very thankful, because that has been, yeah, I love Agatha Christie. She's probably my favorite author, and I'm thankful that, you know, sort of by circumstance, I picked up one that actually, when I reread it for Project Poirot this year, I was like, girl, this is not that good. but it's still Christie. Like, even bad Christie is still better than a lot of books. So anyway, I'm thankful that I happened upon it and that it clicked so well for me. And then I would say another book I'm thankful for is All Summer Long by Susan Mallery. I'm not really sure if you've ever heard me talk about this series on here, but this is the Fool's Gold. It's a series. It's a small town romance series, and I literally picked it up because one day when I was in grad school, and like I was one of those kids, I always like try to get my work done early. So I had a week, like kind of at the end of the semester, where I had all my papers in, and I was just like waiting for the few exams that I had, and I just wanted something light to read. So I went to my library's Overdrive app and literally just typed it. Like, I don't even know how I got to this, but something about the description of this book, I was like, oh, this reminds me of Gilmore Girls. And it does. Like, that's what's really fun about small town romance, if you don't read it, is that it has a lot of the Stars Hollow vibe to it. Like, you get to enjoy all the like quirky townspeople. It's a similar thing for like cozy mysteries. Like, it's just a very cozy genre, and that is the book that like opened my mind to, like, it set me on the path of what I did for my thesis, because I was like, this is like actually also really interesting that these are so popular, and like I was interested in learning more about that. So I'm thankful, because like I loved doing my thesis. It was like really fun, and I think picking a topic that was just like fun for me was a great strategy. If you are out there looking for like a major paper topic or whatever, pick something you're interested in. I think it makes it a lot more pleasant. But anyway, so I'm thankful for that. But also, like, romance has become such a helpful part of my reading diet, because it is like the part of my reading where I know there's a happy ending, where I like can count on, like, in the comedic tradition, like, it ends in a wedding, you know, like, and it's nice to have that in the mix, because if you read only literary fiction, for example, like, it becomes hard, especially when, like, the world is hard, either personally or at a bigger level, because, like, things are so grim sometimes in literary fiction. So, like, having the romance thrown in with what I was already reading, I'm really thankful that I found a book that helped me understand how to read that genre and enjoy it. And it just opened up a huge gateway to, like, all of that genre that I read now. Another couple of, like, genre eye-opening books for me in recent years have been The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, this little quartet of books that I absolutely love. It's, like, one of my very favorite YA series, and The Obsession by Nora Roberts. And what both of those books kind of helped me solidify is that I really do like the lighter end of mystery quite a bit, and that something like a dark domestic thriller, they just don't work that well for me. And so, like, I always want to like them, and they just usually don't end up being great for me. So I think that like, reading some of Nora Roberts' standalone suspense, like, because they are romances, less and less so over time, but, like, so there's a romance happening, but they just also, a lot of them have that sort of small town cozy element to them. There's a lot of, like, interpersonal dynamics that are happening in those suspense books, and they're light, like, they don't ever get super dark. And then YA mysteries, which is what this really, like, launched me into, both of those kind of help me, like, figure out that that's something I really like, and it's a subgenre that I can lean into. So yeah, I'm thankful that I encountered these and kind of nuanced my own understanding of myself as a mystery reader, because mystery is something that I've read for, like, it's pretty much my first genre type book that I started reading after, like, literary fiction / classics, because I started reading the Cat Who books when I was in elementary school. So, like, these helped me really, like, put some words to, like, what kinds of mysteries I really like. Okay, and now we start to get into books that I'm more just, like, thankful for generally in my life, like, that have been important to me, not necessarily as a reader, but more as a person. And recently, too, I mean, I'm always thankful for C.S. Lewis because he was a very formative author for me. Like, I read him a lot in my kind of early teens to early 20s. I have a whole video about where to start with him and some recommendations, but 2 books recently with the passing of my father that have been really wonderful, because I do know C.S. Lewis so well, so there's, like, the comfort reread aspect of it. But he has, like, one of the best books on grief ever, which is A Grief Observed, and I've enjoyed rereading this recently, just, like, musing on my own grief. And then The Chronicles of Narnia, but specifically The Magician's Nephew, because part of the story in this is that the little boy Diggory, his mother is, like, terminally ill, basically. So it's talking to children about that, and, like, C.S. Lewis lost his own mother when he was a child. So, like, just the death of a parent, or, like, the sickness of a parent, like, the way that he talks about that in this book has been really comforting to me this year. So yeah, I'm thankful for C.S. Lewis in general, but specifically these 2 books, kind of where I'm at in my own life right now, have been really lovely, and I'm thankful for them. And then in the vein of kind of comfort rereads or comfort reads, I would definitely say that I'm so thankful for Ilona Andrews writ large, and specifically the Kate Daniels series. I guess the sense I'm thankful for Ilona Andrews is that I love that this team is probably my favorite writing team that's working today. And I just love that I can always count on them to give me what I want from genre fiction. Like, the kind of books they write literally encompass everything that I like in genre fiction, because there's nearly always a mystery plot. They are romances, so there's always a central couple happening, and then it's in a fantasy world, so I get, like, a cool magic system. And also on top of that, in terms of the authorial voice, like, they write really great, strong female characters in the vein that I like, and that I don't think veers into Manic Pixie Dream Girl territory for the kick-ass heroine bit. And they just are so funny. Like, these books make me laugh, and I just love everything about what they put in their books, and I'm so thankful that I have an author that, like, I've literally never read. I guess okay, one exception, they did have a major plot issue, I think, in one of the Kate Daniels books that I didn't like, but even when I was reading it, I still enjoyed it when I was reading it. I just had a problem with it kind of, like, as a part of the series. But, like, I can literally, in terms of just, like, in the moment reading, they've never let me down. And the Kate Daniels series is one of my very favorites to reread. I mean, I did a whole epic pregame before the release of the 10th and final book. I have a playlist, I'll list that somewhere, but I love having an author that I can just so consistently count on for when life is hard and for when I just want something to enjoy. And then just in terms of, like, physical body stuff, because that's been, you know, I've talked about in my keto video that, you know, I've struggled in the past with disordered eating, and finding a new way of eating in the last year has been really significant to me. So I will say it again, Why We Get Fat. I mean, because this book literally did change my life. I'm very thankful for it. But then also, I think that even I think I read Hunger by Roxane Gay, which is my all-time favorite memoir. I absolutely adore this book. This is like probably a top 5 book for me ever, because this book made me feel so seen. And I think reading this around the time that I read Why We Get Fat, like, helped like the emotional work that you need to do to be able to make a big change. Like, this was really significant, and I'm thankful for the vulnerability that Roxane Gay has to put this out there, because I think the more people who can be so articulate and still so vulnerable and real, the easier it makes it for everyone to tell their stories. So yeah, I'm really thankful for this book. And then this is sort of like a little category of books. I wasn't sure like which one to pick, but I'm really thankful. So when I went to grad school, I studied like my degrees in religion and art. So like I was studying religion, and I have a complicated religious history. Suffice it to say, I became actively religious in the context of a fundamentalist school, and the theology that was being taught to me in that school just continually denied who I am, in terms of like, it had very specific teachings about gender roles and about how other people are supposed to be treated who are not Christians and whatever. And like, once I got out of that school and actually into like the real world and university, and then in my professional life, like, it was constant, like, and I'm somebody who has very low tolerance for cognitive dissonance. Like, I can't, like, it is a stressful thing for me. And I was just like in constant struggle, because what I thought I had to believe was in such conflict with my actual like feelings and what my lived experience was. And so being at the grad school I was at was so helpful for me, essentially like deprogramming from that and coming to a place where now I think past me would definitely think I'm not a Christian. I still identify philosophically with Christianity, but it's a thing that is much more like open hands, not interested in a lot of dogma, very much interested more in like moral principles type piece of it. And there was a lot of books in grad school that got me there. I was having a hard time, but some of the ones that I remember in particular, I think the biggest one was probably Are Women Human by Dorothy Sayers, just for the gender piece of this. Like, this was hugely significant for me, and like changed my life, I would say. And then just like studying so much history of religion, and specifically the history of Christianity, is a huge part of what like set me free and set my mind free, because I realized that what I had been told was true about the way things were was just like not accurate, like just wasn't true. Two kind of big ones. One is Apostles of Reason by Molly Worthen, The Crisis of Authority in American Evangelicalism. This was really kind of the linchpin, because I'd had to do, in my hermeneutics class, I had to kind of deconstruct the specific Chicago statement about biblical interpretation that fundamentalists have put out. And I think that this book, the history of kind of like why authority is such a problem in evangelicalism, was really very, very formative for me, being like, oh, I see what you're trying to do. That actually doesn't make sense, and I don't have to believe this, and I don't have to feel bad about not believing it. And then the other, just like an intellectual history that I love, and again was, I think like, this is one of the last things I read in grad school, and was just like it was really helpful and just really interesting. I would recommend this to anyone. It's called Sources of the Self, The Making of Modern Identity by Charles Taylor. And basically what he does is he does a history of like how in Western civilization, different societies, starting with sort of like pre-Greek pagans, have understood how humans are selves, and like how that has evolved over time. So like he takes you through like the Greeks and the Romans, and then into like Augustine and Paul, and then how that shifts like in the Enlightenment with Rousseau and all those guys. Like, it's so helpful and interesting if you're a geek who enjoys that stuff. Like I am, this is great. And this book really fully helped me take the steps I needed to get in a place where I am much more, I don't have that level of cognitive dissonance, because my mind, heart, and experience all are much more in alignment, and I'm just in a much happier place with faith. So these books were all really, I'm very thankful for, because, and I'm thankful for the teachers who guided me to them, obviously, but yeah, I'm just very thankful for this entire kind of like reading list I got in grad school to get me there. And then finally, the book that I am most thankful for is, of course, my all-time favorite book, which is Jane Eyre. Like, I'm just thankful for this on so many levels. I'm thankful for this as a book that really, I think, has defined a lot of my taste in terms of the elements that are in this book. I'm thankful for this book and the time I got to spend with it doing my thesis, because essentially I was using this as, because this is one of the text of what is now popular romance. Like, this was a source, a very big, important source text for that genre. So I got to spend a lot of time rereading it and dissecting it and just like admiring it as a feat of literary accomplishment. And then I'm just so thankful for this book as something that I reread probably once or twice a year. I can, not even all of it, but like I'll read sections of it, and I just love it so much. It means so much to me. It is my soft, safe place in books. There's so many little monologues in here that like have been so instructive to me and like encouraging to me in dark times. Like I think the one that people often refer to is "I am no bird and no net ensnares me," which is great. But my favorite monologue in this is when, well, I don't want to give a spoiler, but basically there's a circumstance where somebody is compelled, like is trying to urge Jane to act against what she thinks is right. And basically they're saying like, hey, you don't have any family, like it doesn't matter what you do. And she like looks them in the eye and is like, no one cares what you do, is what they say. And she is like, I care for myself. And it's just like this beautiful monologue about like being able to look yourself in the eye and like living up to your own principles. And I'm like, oh, it's just like every time it makes me weep. It is so like, it's been a very formative, I think, passage for me and how I think of myself as a moral person. Anyway, I could go on and on because I absolutely love Jane Eyre. I am most thankful for it above everything. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a really lovely day. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!